Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Project Bag podcast, my podcast about making all the things, living a crafty life, following dreams and general nonsense. My name's Gemma, for those of you who don't know, and I'm coming to you, as always, from my home in Kent, where I live with my husband and our two gorgeous cats, Archie and Kit 9. We are back in our usual space today. Those people who tuned in for last week's episode will have seen that we were in the dining room. Today it is the afternoon. I'm podcasting in the afternoon, which is great. It's not 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. The lighting is going to be interesting, I think, because it is the afternoon. The clocks have gone back. That means that actually the sun's setting a little bit earlier. I mean, obviously if the sun's setting at the time it normally would, but you know, our time is different. So we've got some interesting shadows and things going on here. If you are wondering why you can see a slightly different angle of the background than normal, it's because when Kit 9 came in from the garden, I was sat in his favourite spot. So he has taken revenge and is currently taking up most of my spot here. I'll see if I can show you. Oh, that's me. There he is. He really doesn't care. He's quite happy, hunkered down, feeling very pleased with himself. You gonna say hi? You gonna open your eyes? No, we're just gonna purr and feel proud. So yeah, see if I can put you back now so you can still see me. Okay, so returning viewers, thank you very much. New subscribers, thank you. It's been so nice to see that some more of you would like to come and share some more crafty chat with me. All the places you can find me on the internet are going to be down in the description box down there, in the interest of saving a bit of time. When I thought about sitting down to record this podcast, I was actually quite worried yesterday morning, because I thought I'm not going to have enough to talk about. I know that's normally not a problem for me. Normally it's a challenge to try and keep it under an hour, and inevitably I don't succeed. But actually, somehow I've got quite a lot to talk about, so let's crack on with it, shall we? No Project Bag admin announcements other than the fact, keep putting your finished objects in the Great Festive Cast On Cal thread, and in the, what's the other one? Crack Those Whips Cal thread as well. We've got lots of finished objects turning up in there. They're looking gorgeous. I wish I could comment on them, but I can't because I've got to keep the comments clear for drawing winners. The Crack Those Whips Cal finishes on the 1st of December, so you have got 1 month left. 1 month, it's the 2nd of November as I'm recording. Can't believe it. I don't know where the year's gone, to be honest with you. And you have got until the 24th of December to do the Great Festive Cast On Cal. So those two are going on there. I am already thinking about the New Year's knit-alongs and crochet-alongs and make-alongs. Just a quick reminder for the festive one, if you've got any festive makes that aren't knitting or crochet or spinning, pop along to the Project Bag Club and pop them on the thread there, which I will be uploading by tomorrow afternoon. So by the time this is up, there will be a pinned post for your makes there for you. So do join in with that. Okay, let's get on with it then, shall we? Hi, Gemma from the future, butting in and interrupting Gemma from the past. As you can see, I've moved slightly because Kit 9, as I stopped recording the podcast, disappeared off. He decided he was done with my seat now that I was done with it and he was leaving. So I just wanted to butt in and say thank you so much to everyone who responded to last week's podcast. It's been really nice to see so many conversations going on, not just in the Ravelry group, but also in the comments down below on YouTube. I'm really pleased you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas of things that you would like me to discuss or to explore on the podcast, I would love to hear them, and I'm quite happy to do more topical episodes as well. So let me know below. Or there's a thread, got a question thread in the Ravelry group. Again, the link's down below for that. Pop your questions in there and I'm more than happy to address them if I can on the podcast. I mean, I might not know all the answers. So someone, for example, asked me if hayfield bonus would be good for colour work. And I wasn't sure. I would think it was, but I'd have to go and try it. And actually, Pip popped up and said, "Oh, if I may," and of course you may. Talk to each other, help each other out. That's fantastic. She says it's actually really good for colour work. So there we are. So there you go. I'm at Yarnporium tomorrow, which is probably today or yesterday, depending when you're watching this. And do let me know if there's anything topical you'd like me to discuss in the podcast. I'm going to hand back to Gemma of an hour or so ago, who I rudely interrupted. See you in a bit. Let's start with finished objects because, yes, Ellen, I finish things. Occasionally, it happens. So yeah, the first one is my blanket for Baby Plum. That is finished. It's looking a bit creased. I think I'm going to block it. I mean, it's also got bits of fluff on because the cat got hold of it, so I have to get rid of the fluff. I think I'm going to block it. I know it's just a garter stitch blanket, but where it looks a bit creased, where it's been bundled up in project bags, I think it could do with it. So it's a gradient ball of yarn, cake of yarn. It's Sirdar Snuggly, which is lovely for baby knits. Patter Cake DK. One ball does an entire blanket. It retails at between £8 and £12 a ball, depending where you buy it from, and comes in various colours. Here we go. It's just garter stitch with increases at one end of each row and then decreases when you get to the middle. I have quite a bit of the yarn left. Those of you who watched last week know that my battery ran out in my kitchen scales, and rather than go and get a new battery, I just sort of went, nah. Actually, I had a friend round and she said, "What have you got that's the equivalent to 75 grams?" And I found a 50-gram ball and a 25-gram ball, and we're sort of holding those in one hand and holding what's left of the cake in the other, and sort of going, oh. Probably not the most scientific way to do it, but anyway, I decided to just start decreasing. So it's a little bit smaller than the other one. I mean, obviously this is in quarters now, but I really like the effect. It's simple, it's garter stitch. It means I can do a baby knit without too much pressure and aggro. So that's finished object number 1. Okay, and we're seeing Baby Plum next weekend. I'm really excited. It's going to be really lovely to give him squishes and see his big sister and proudly present the blanket and say, "See, I did as you asked." Because 2.5, 3-year-olds are clearly the bosses. Right, I have another finished object, which is actually a new cast on, which you guys haven't seen. I got a little bit of a telling off, just a little bit of a telling off from one of my lovely friends who I met at Perth, and we've been chatting back and forth. You might have seen on Insta stories, we've had a bit of a battle going on last night, an Insta story battle, and she's been very, very controlled and self-disciplined and is using the Crack Those Whips cowl as it was intended. It's just Kit and I scratching if you can hear a weird noise. He's looking at me as though to say, "Can you shush now please, Mum, I'm trying to sleep." So, new cast on, which is also a finished object. Ha! Yes! I did it in record time actually. I cast it on Monday and it was finished yesterday, which is Thursday. Or did I finish it on Wednesday? Finished it on Wednesday. There we are. So 2-day project. Those of you who are long-time viewers because I've been doing this for so long, viewers of the podcast will know that I have a real sort of fandom of Truly Hooked yarn. I love it. It was the first indie dyed yarn I ever bought. Verity is such a beautiful soul, as most indie dyers are, to be honest. And I've signed up. Will you stop? Sorry. Yeah, as most indie dyers are. But her yarn was the first that I bought, and I have had a couple of her boxes. I've had some of her fan club collaboration boxes with Dye Candy. So Harry Potter, I think that was just Truly Hooked. I think, yeah. And Guardians of the Galaxy was with Dye Candy. Gorgeous skeins of yarn. I've asked you please to stop. Sorry about this. Sorry, I've just had to edit that bit out because I completely lost my thread because Kit9 has ignored me and is continuing to groom very loudly, and so I told him off, got bitten, and then I told him off verbally, just to be clear. Stroked him, got bitten, and then lost my train of thought. So here we, oh, and now I kicked the tripod. So here we are. Anyway, I've had a couple of collaboration boxes from Truly Hooked and Die Candy, and I had her Christmas box last year, and she's doing this new thing that started in September, which is the weekend box. And the idea behind it, I did talk about it I think a couple of episodes ago, is that you sign up and she sends you a skein of yarn. It's a mystery skein of yarn, and some treats, and you just carve out some time for yourself one weekend a month just to do something for you, do something that you love, because how easy is it to run out of time to do the things that we really enjoy, right? So I had the rainbow one. I think I'm going to be good and do the bunting. I would love rainbow socks, but I'm a little bit nervous of not having enough or not being able to get it equal, and I'm trying to let go of perfection at the minute, but it's not easy for me. I'm a bit of a control freak. And yeah, this month's one came through and it was lovely. It had hot chocolate and sparkler, which I'm looking forward to using. I haven't had a bonfire. Yeah, Gemma, she sent you a bonfire through the post. No. Anyway, I'm looking forward to using it. I haven't had a sparkler in ages, and a gorgeous skein of Aran weight yarn, which I was delighted with. There's not enough Aran yarn, in my opinion, to be honest. I'm a big fan of it. We had a whole discussion about it last time. And as well as the yarn, she sends a pattern, and so far they've both been knit or crochet. So that you could do the bunting by knitting, or you could do it by crochet, and this hat you could do by knitting or by crochet. And it's such a beautiful skein of yarn. I caked it up almost immediately because a friend of mine let slip that it's her birthday this coming Saturday, tomorrow, 3rd of November, and she'll be at Yarnporium. And I just knew instantly, with it being firework weekend, that this was going to be the perfect thing to knit up for a present for her, because I am not personally a big hat wearer. I tend to look a bit like a numpty. I know that she likes hats. I know she likes the colour grey, and she's been a really good friend to me. So I wanted to knit something, and I just knew that this would be perfect. So I cast it on. Alan said to me, my husband said to me, "You're going to have time to do this with everything else?" Like, yeah, sure. I cast it on Monday night, and I cast it off on Wednesday night at knit night, and here it is. Look at that. So this is, I mean, look how neat those decreases look. There's something very satisfying about good crown decreases. Do you know what I mean? Am I right? Am I right? Of course I'm right. Just, I love the way they spiral in. It almost looks like a Catherine wheel. This colourway is called Firework, and it has got these absolutely gorgeous speckles, but the speckles are so different. It's not just, oh, you've got pink and yellow and purple speckles and green speckles. The way they interact with the grey colour means that every speckle is completely different, and it's almost a bit like the night sky. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. It was a really quick and easy pattern. I did toy with the idea of putting some texture in it, but I decided in the end not to. I did, it looks a bit like it gets really narrow here, but what I did was a long tail cast on. Clearly now is bath time, and what that means is it's super stretchy. I'm not going to put it on because I am wearing makeup and I don't want to get any on the hat, but the option was to do it 8 inches before the crown decreases, or to do an extra inch for a slouchy hat. And I think I'm right in saying that this person likes slouchy hats. Hope I am. If not, she can regift it. That's not a problem. So this will be being gifted at Yarnporium on Saturday to my lovely friend, and you know, I'm absolutely blessed. I am so blessed in my friends, and the new friends I've made through the Yarny world as well. It's just lovely. Really lovely. So yeah, that's my second finished object. You can look at it again. Don't get used to this, guys. If you're a new viewer, finished objects are few and far between, and in a minute I'll show you why. Oh, so whips. Yeah, let's talk about whips. I kind of feel like the title of this episode is going to be Sorry Not Sorry. I was feeling really overwhelmed when I came back from Perth by all my whips, and I decided to do the Crack Those Whips cowl to try and get rid of some of them, clear my needles, clear my head a little bit as well, because I have lots of designs in my head and deadlines that I want to make for my knits and to release patterns. My cowl pattern will be coming out next week, which is super exciting. It will be on Ravelry, and there will be a discount code for viewers of the podcast, just for you guys, which I will say in next week's podcast. It won't be in the description box on the down bar. It will literally be, because I want it to be for viewers, but you guys who are supporting me and actually viewing it, I want to give something back to you, or the option of you having something back. You don't have to buy the pattern, but if you chose to, I'd like to give you something back to thank you for your support and for putting up with my nonsense. So there'll be a discount code as well shown on the down bar here. Not on the down bar, sorry, I'm making things up, but at the bottom of the screen where I put things. Yeah, so there'll be that. And yeah, so the idea was that I was going to stop casting things on. I was going to get whips done, with the exception, the notable exception of the Great Festive Cast On, which was where I gave myself permission on the 1st of October to start casting on Christmas presents for people. I actually haven't cast on any Christmas presents for anyone yet. Again, it's brilliant to see you guys doing the festive knits in the Ravelry group. That's wonderful. The Ravelry group is really picking up pace now. We've got such a lovely bunch of people in there, all chatting, all being really supportive of one another in their knits and sharing amazing, inspiring projects, you know, from simple vanilla socks, which are just so well finished and beautiful, right to a slightly Woolly Whiskers has just completed I think it's called Chuck. I think it's the Chuck cropped jumper with those beautiful cables up the front. I'm stroking the cat if you're wondering what I'm doing. There's something really therapeutic about stroking cats, isn't there? Or dogs, I suppose, if you're a dog person, but it makes everything a bit better. Where was I? Whips. I'm all over the place today. I feel more all over the place than normal. Yeah, so it hasn't worked for me. Podcastery thing to do. I have this new mug. It was bought for me by my birthday. No, it was bought for me for my birthday by my auntie, who is lovely, and I don't get to see nearly enough of her. And it's just a bit special. I like it. I really like it. It's polka dots. I love polka dots. It's a nice shape. And yeah, it's great. So it's having its first outing on the podcast today, and it says G, so you know it's mine. Yeah. It's caffeinated coffee, so this could get a lot more messy. And actually, it's my 3rd caffeinated coffee of the day, but I'll tell you more about that later. So, works in progress then. I thought I'd bring out the board this time. It's changed a bit. I've got my board pen, you know, teachers. Board pens are great, honestly. Even if you're not a teacher, get a whiteboard and get a board pen. It's so much fun. So, works in progress. I thought I'd take you through it. The first one up here is Baby Plum's blanket. I can give that a big tick because that is done. Yes, brilliant. The second one is the Ella tunic. That is my first work in progress. I have to show you actually. Definitely more than a boob tube, or half of one, because it's the back, and obviously you want the whole thing covered. Although you could just like do strings across the back and make that the front, and yay, finished object. Yeah? Yeah? No, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That'd be ridiculous. Okay. I know that some of you talk to me when you watch this. I know because you've told me. So that gives me full license to have full-on conversations with you, right? Okay. We agreed on that? Excellent. This is now actually going to be a gift. This is now going to be a Christmas gift. It doesn't count for the Great Festive Cast On. Not that any of my work does, because it's my cowl. There's a real problem with hosting cowls. You don't get to properly take part. Yeah, so maybe I should just award myself if I finish anything with a new cast on, perhaps. Yeah, I don't need to wait to finish things for casting things on. The colour was admired by my mother-in-law, and actually it's really funny because she'd gone up to order breakfast. We took a long walk to Ockham Farm on Sunday. We were down in Devon seeing my brothers-in-law who've both had their birthdays. My husband and his brothers were all born in October. So we were down seeing my mother-in-law and her partner, and then we went to see my father-in-law and the boys, and took them to Go Ape for their birthdays. They're 16 and 19. So yeah, so on the Sunday we had some time obviously with my mother-in-law and her partner, and we went to Ockham Farm for breakfast. We had a good 2.5 mile walk to get there, which is great. It was lovely, really lovely morning. It was quite cold to start with, but I was stripping off as we went. And so I was working on this. And I was literally just talking to Alan and Tony and saying that I think actually this might suit my mother-in-law better than me. This doesn't come under the whole because you're worth knits. I just think that actually the size and the fit will really flatter my mother-in-law. And then she came back to the table and she said, oh, that's a really lovely colour. Oh, I really like that colour. And I was like, yes. And I described it to her, what it's going to be like. So this is now going to be a Christmas present. But there's nothing really much to show you there, is it? It's the Ella tunic. It was a test knit for Emily Walton, who is Shearwa Shoten on Instagram. I'll put it here. And she designs, I think she releases her own designs as well, but she also designs for Expression Fibre Arts. I didn't make the test knit deadline because of going back to work, and some work ruins everything, and also because I frogged it a couple of times because I wasn't happy with my own knitting. It's nothing to do with the pattern, I just wasn't happy with the fabric I was getting. I am using Paint Box yarns in DK. It hasn't got a colourway name, but it's this nice kind of sagey green, and you can see there the back is entirely 2x2 rib. You can see that really satisfying stretch. It's going to be so cozy and perfect. I think it's short sleeved. I might put some more decreases in to make it 3/4 length, because I'm not sure my mother-in-law wears tops underneath jump. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a shorter sleeve, then sometimes in the winter you'd wear a longer sleeved garment as well underneath, not knitted necessarily. Well, I suppose you could. But yeah, so I think I'll do 3/4 length or elbow length sleeves on it, but we'll see. And hopefully that'll be done for Christmas. So that one, I lost my board pen, is progressing. Calypso cardigan has had no work on it this week. Tulameen mystery shawl has had no work on it this week, but I want to talk to you about it because it's no longer a mystery. I am so far behind that it's finished. It's been revealed. Felicia Lowe's shown it on her Taking Back Friday podcast. And I want to talk to you about it because I got to sit down with the lovely Tabitha Hedrick of Sweet Georgia Yarns. She is the design director. We had a Zoom conference thing, check me out with the technology, and chatted for an hour, and it was so interesting to talk to her. I did have a rough outline of what I wanted to talk about on the interview, but it became for the most part really quite organic. There are some moments where I kind of pull it back to the questions. But yeah, so I'm editing that. It's going to be a video in its own right because it's just such a joy, and she's such a wonderful, wonderful person to talk to. I had so much fun. It was great. So yeah, watch out for that because I talked to her about her design journey, about her knitting inspiration, what it's like to be a designer with a capital D, and her favourite knits, and there's so much. It's great. It's brilliant. So, and I'm not saying that as the person who interviewed. I had a wonderful person to talk to, and that's really good. And she's such a sweetie, she really is, and such a talented designer. So watch out for that. I am hoping to get the Tulameen mystery shawl mostly finished by the time that goes up, but that will be going up not this coming week, but the week after, I think. I'm pretty certain. I'll work out the date and I'll put it there, because I figure if I give myself a deadline, I'll stick to it. I mean, I knit that hat in 3 days, right? So yeah. Dragon Hill Studio socks have not had any progress, but I am going to knit a complete afterthought heel, which means cutting some stitches, and I am terrified. So if any of you have done this before and have any tips or advice, I'm going to be using the pattern, which I think is by one of the girls who does the Knit Girls podcast. I'm really sorry if that's wrong. But if any of you got any tips, any experience, then, drop it down there for me or in the Ravelry group. If any of you would like to see it happen in a couple of weeks, I could do a little video and sort of go through it as well and go through the process. Obviously not giving away the secret sauce of the pattern, but the actual cutting bit I could do. So let me know there. Right, Yarnporium Cardi. That's changed. That has gone. My daughter's socks are finished. They are not a finished object, but all the pattern tweaks have been done. I've just got to finish knitting the final sock. The final sock? What am I, a centipede? Second sock. There are only 2 socks in a pair of socks, okay? Keyword there being pair. And I'm sending that off to my lovely tech editor soon, and it will be released hopefully in time for Christmas. I'd really like that to happen. Lindsay's Ripple Blanket. This is new. I found it. It's an extant whip that I'd forgotten about. Aria Test Knit has gone. I've written my daughter's socks on here twice, so let's just cross that off. That's obviously playing on my mind. So the Aria Test Knit has gone. That went a while ago. My new shawl design is still very much a thong shape, and that brings me on to Grandma's Drops jumper. I lied to you last week when I said I'd worked on just one thing. I'd actually worked on 2 things and forgotten about it. Look, I've cast off the bottom and I have an issue. Okay, experienced knitters, I'm looking at you. Why is the bottom doing that? Why is it flipping up? Why is it doing that? I did it exactly as the pattern said. I've got the right number of stitches. I bound off loosely. I did it in the whole knit purl alternate that it recommended. I did everything right. Why is it doing that? Because my grandma won't wear that, flipped up and frilly, and it did not look like that on the front cover of the pattern. I mean, I'm hoping a good block will sort it out. That's not gonna, she can't block it every time she wears it. My grandma hasn't got time for that. She's a busy lady, a very busy lady, and goodness knows I don't have time to take it back and wash it for her each time she wears it. So, you know, advice please. But there it is. There it is. I didn't alternate skeins, and there is pooling, but actually I kind of like it. I really do. I think it looks really cool. Might be a bit busy for my grandma, I don't know. She might decide she doesn't like it, in which case she can give it back to me and I'll wear it. There is some shaping. As you can see, there are some waist decreases, which is why it's going in there, and some waist increases too. I did something wrong. I've got no idea what I did wrong, but I didn't have the right number of stitches for either the smallest size or the second size. I think I was doing the medium. I think I was doing the second size. And I couldn't work it out because with the number of decreases and increased pairs, I still didn't end up with the right number. So something went wrong up here. No idea what, but it should fit. So that's okay. I am now in the position where I will be picking up the sleeves and continuing this lace motif, and I will be picking all the cat hair off of it. I'll be continuing that lace motif, which you can just about see, down the sleeves, and they are sleeves down to there. So yeah, that should be done in time for Christmas. As I say, I have bound off the body. It's quite a nice length. It will look good with trousers and skirts. She does like wearing skirts. So there we are. And I have knit that in cotton yarn. It's called Coast, the colourway, and I don't know the brand. It's by my local yarn store, Hot Stitch and Jumper, and it has their own ball bands on it, so I'm not sure where they source it from, if it's a local dyer or something that does it just exclusively for them. And I really like the stitch definition, and it's really soft and cozy as well. So there we are. This is where we come to this black line, because these are my new cast-ons. Whoops, oopsie. I have cast on Ellie's Selby mittens. You knew about that already. I have cast on and cast off the firework hat, so I can cross that off. Or I can tick it off, I should say. There we are. So I've got 2 ticks on my whip list. I might have increased it by 4, but I've still got 2 ticks. And my corner to corner crocheted blanket. There isn't enough to be worth showing you, so I'm not going to bother. But my other new cast on that you won't have seen, which I cast on Friday night in the car on the way down to Devon, didn't work very well because by that point it was pitch black and we were on country roads and there were no lights and I couldn't count my stitches properly, how many I cast on. But I have cast on the boxy sweater, which if you remember, I am making for Lara's godmother for her birthday, which is the beginning of December. I want to say it's the 10th of December, but it probably isn't. I'm probably making that up because I'm a terrible friend and I don't know when my friends' birthdays are. So yeah, I have got that far so far. I did all of that at the weekend. I've put none on it since I got back from Devon, but I am using Manos de Uruguay Silk Blend yarn. Not sure of the colourway, can't find any of the tags. I think it's like a dye lot number rather than a colourway, and it's in the worsted weight yarn. Now I'm not sure about this because worsted is meant to be Aran. It's definitely not fingering weight, it's definitely thicker than fingering weight. But if you look at my DK, from Paintbox, it actually looks thinner than the DK, doesn't it? So I don't know if this would be a light worsted. I did get it on a Ravelry D-stash, and I did say to the lady that I bought it from, is this worsted? Because it says on the description it's worsted, and I did check. You can check it in Ravelry as well, and it did come up as a worsted weight yarn. But looking at that, I'm thinking it's light worsted. I'm thinking it's DK. Whereas worsted typically apparently equates to Aran, which is obviously much thicker. I mean, I'm doing it on big needles anyway. I'm doing it on 6mm needles rather than 5.5, which is giving me a nice drapey fabric. And the bottom is sitting quite nicely. It's not flipping up and being naughty. And I know there's been some issues with people's bottoms flipping up. I've had the most hilarious morning with my new crochet group, and everything just sounds like an innuendo to me now. Honestly, I'll talk to you more about that later. But I really like how that's knitting up. I was feeling a bit competitive and wondering if I could catch Amy Florence with hers, because she is doing the fingering weight one. And knitting with worsted compared to fingering weight is like a Ferrari compared to a moped. slight hyperbole there, slight exaggeration. But I thought I could do it. And actually, to be fair, I did make really good progress considering I only had the car journey. I had a bit of Saturday evening and then I only had the car journey back from Devon, and actually I drove for a couple of those hours as well. So it's done well. I just need to get a wriggle on and get it done, really, to be honest. And I am actually trying to actively lead Ellen astray and get her to cast on a boxing. That's what our Instagram battle was about last night, our stories battle. She started planning the boxing. I'm wearing her down. I'm kind of thinking of a new hashtag, everybody boxy. It's great. I mean, you know, I think worsted, it'll be warm enough for winter, whereas okay, so my camera's just done that thing where it says maximum file size reached, recording in a new file, which is great, but I never notice it in time and it always cuts off a bit of what I'm saying. So I'm going to say this again. Worsted weight I think should be really cosy for winter, although it is quite a loose fabric. It's not really showing how loose it is there. It's got a nice drape, so I don't know if she'll want to wear a top underneath it or not. I mean, she probably will. Layers in winter are great. I am alternating skeins. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but I think I'm doing something wrong here, because let me see the point I'm alternating them. People tend to say that they get a visible seam when they alternate skeins, and I haven't really. I mean, you can just about see that there is a bit of something there, but it doesn't really look like a seam, so I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. I mean, the inside it obviously shows, you can see there. So again, anyone got any tips for alternating skeins, let me know below. But there we are. It is stocking stitch in the round for 17 inches, and then I do something for the armholes and the front and the back because it's bottom up in the round. Really enjoying it. Nice mindless knit. It's definitely, I think, going to be a product knit rather than a process knit. Because as I say, there isn't much to the process, I suppose, other than seeing it grow fairly quickly if you work on it, which I haven't really been. And that is living in my ridiculously tall project bag. You might remember from a few episodes ago, my husband said to me, well, why don't you keep one of these for yourself? You know, you're making these beautiful project bags. He might not have said beautiful, I might have popped that in because it's not really an Alan thing to say. But I know he means they're beautiful, right? He totally means that. Yeah. There we are. And it's actually perfect. I've got a couple of skeins in there. It's also big enough to fit my knitter's knitting journal in there, which I'm meant to be keeping project notes in so I can then upload it to Ravelry. I'm not, I'm being really rubbish. But yeah, and obviously it's got a few skeins. I could fit all 5 skeins in there if I wanted, and my project, and it's got room to spare. So actually I had my hat project in there as well. There we go. And there are drawstring bags available in my Etsy shop. For those of you that don't know, I am the maker, designer, dyer and tutor behind the Project Bag, which is the Project Bag UK on Ravelry, and it is the Project Bag UK on Etsy. Links will be down below. I hand make project bags, notions, so progress keepers and stitch markers. I've got a couple of designs that are coming out. One's already out for free on Ravelry, and I've just started dyeing yarn. Well, I've been doing it for a while, but I've just launched my hand dyed yarn as well. So that's in there for you if you like. So in the interest of full disclosure, that's what I do. So that's it with regards to works in progress. I've taken you through my board. I feel kind of satisfied that I'm working on some and I have crossed some off. Admittedly, 2 of those have been frogged, and one of them I just wrote twice, and so I had to cross out. But I have 2 finished objects on there from my whip list, so it's going in the right direction. I've got another craft to share with you this week. I haven't done much of it, but it is getting close to the C word. And I'm sorry if some of you think it's too soon, you know. There's this meme going around with the fairy godmother from Cinderella. Have you seen it online? And she goes, and the clock strikes midnight and bam, Christmas everywhere. This idea that after Halloween, I think they picked it because of the pumpkin thing, which obviously we associate with Halloween, or lots of places associate with Halloween. Can you not bite? No, I don't need grooming. I really don't need grooming. I promise you I'm cleaning up. He's got a point though. My hands are pretty... If you've noticed this and thought, oh, couldn't she have washed her hands before she did the podcast? I have, several times. I've just mentioned I dye yarn. I was dyeing Aurora Borealis yesterday, which is my hand-painted colourway, and I got a bit hands-on with it and forgot to put gloves on, and turquoise does not come out. Last week I looked like I've been murdering someone. This week I really don't know what I look like, but it's not particularly pleasant, so I'm sorry about that. And it's not particularly pleasant, so she shows you a close-up. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, the C word's coming. I picked up this Cross Stitcher magazine, and I picked it up because I'm a sucker for a free gift, and it came with everything you need to make this beaded cross-stitched card with a button. Now, they're using the term button loosely here. It's a bit of card with 2 holes punched in that you can sew on. So I don't know if I'd really class that as a button per se. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a button snob here. But it's also got, if you can see, little beads sewn on for the holly bush, which I think is really cute. And I just thought, yeah, that looks like fun. I haven't done cross stitch in ages. So yeah, I thought I'd do that and have something a bit different to talk about this week as well. I only started it last night. There's not a lot really to show you. I can show you. So there we are. That's where I'm at the minute. It doesn't look like anything, does it? But this is actually the holly bush, and the post box is going to go... See, it looks a bit more like something now, doesn't it? The purple's actually the sky, which I think is fun. And yeah, so the robin will be sitting. Can you just see that shape there? That's where the robin's going to sit. Cross stitch, for those of you that haven't tried it, it's really simple. You follow a chart. This chart is colour coded. You do get charts that are just black and white, and it comes with the thing to put the card in to mount it. Although interestingly, it's only, see, when I've done cross stitch cards before, there's been another bit of card, so it folds over so you can hide where you've stuck it on. So I don't know, I might just put that in a frame and give it to someone for Christmas, just as a little stocking filler. yeah, it's really simple. You work in diagonals, so you come from one corner on the Ada, that's what this material's called. It's called Ada. Don't know why, just is. You see the holes? There we go. So you come in one corner, you see some half done cross stitches here. So you come out from one corner, go diagonally across, and then carry on, and go back the way to complete the cross. And yeah, that's it really. Follow the chart and that's it. I do have a tip for this. I used to, when I started cross stitching, my mum and auntie taught me, and they always had a pencil and they coloured in a bit of chart, but I used to get the graphite all over my hands. I was quite terrible for that, and then it would transfer to the cross stitch as well. Also, if you make a mistake, it's really hard to see where you went wrong. So what I do now, and I can't show you on this because it's a coloured chart, but I use a highlighter. You know the teeny tiny mini ones, they've got really fine nibs. Use a highlighter, you can still see the symbols underneath, so you can still see what you've done. I'm forever losing my highlighters, so it's quite fun because on my charts you've got them in all different colours depending on which day I did it, so you can see how much I've done. I do have a big cross stitch over out of the way that I would quite like to show you, but I think I might show you another time when I've done a bit more on it, because I haven't touched it at the moment, so it doesn't count as a whip, and it's definitely not an FO. Magazine is quite fun. I think it's worth it. It's worth it for the free gift, to be honest. It's got some things that I personally wouldn't necessarily do, but it's all down to personal taste. You've got a picture there. You've got, try and show you that, showing you the chart. Gingerbread man motif that you can stitch onto a pinny, which is quite fun for Christmas. Oh, kit 9's left. I can get comfortable in a minute. Sweet little banner to make for Christmas. I like that. And to all a good night. It's Christmas time in the city. Deck the halls, dashing through the snow. Baby, it's cold outside. It's the most wonderful time of year. I'll be home for Christmas. Do you know what? There's a problem with this. It's not got driving home for Christmas. That is my favourite Christmas song. What's your favourite Christmas song? Please don't shout at me for talking about Christmas. It's November, guys. We're crafters. Crafts take time. It's not just like we're normal people. We can't just go to, well, we could just go to the shops last minute and pick up our Christmas shopping. If you're crafting and you want to do a homemade Christmas, you've got to think ahead. So all you Grinches out there who are grumbling at me, I'm getting quite defensive, aren't I? Don't grumble. Christmas is expensive. Can be expensive. Can be expensive to make things as well, but when you've got a stash as big as mine, there's no excuse really. Having said that, my Christmas knits that are still on my soon-to-be cast-on list. Haven't cast on any of them, and I'm cheating by calling the Ella a Christmas knit now. Oh well. So yeah, on to blather, and actually my blather is all about, I see I've stolen it again. I've got to come up with my own name. I just use things that I've heard from other places. I'm a bit of a magpie like that. General chit chat, knit and natter. They're all done. Grab your cup of tea, grab your knitting. Let's talk. I'm not going to knit and talk because I'll lose concentration, and you don't want me pausing all the way through. Yeah, but it's all about craft this week. So obviously I did the Go Ape at the weekend, which isn't crafty based. I did take my knitting in case I chickened out, but my brothers-in-law are 16 and 19 now, respectively. They're still whippersnappers, still young'uns. I've got to show them that their old sister-in-law's still got it. You know, I'm nearly 32, so to them I must seem ancient. I know that concept of age and teenagers is a bit tricky. Yeah, so I did almost all of it. I was very, very nervous when I went up the first kind of bits. They have a Tarzan swing where you hold onto a rope and you literally swing through. I mean, obviously you're harnessed and you're clipped on, but I am terrified of heights. Absolutely. I could stand on a chair and get scared. I'm that bad. So that's why my students often have put the projector on for me, because they can reach because they're tall and I'm not. Yeah. So I didn't get any knitting done then, but I'm really proud of myself. I did almost all of them. I didn't do the last zone because there are 5 zones. So you do one track and then there's a zip wire to get you back down to ground level, and then you go to the next one, you climb up, do all the bits in the trees, zip wire down, and you do that several times. The 5th zone has a big Tarzan swing, and I couldn't do that last time, and it actually has stayed with me, that kind of fear and anxiety about it. and there isn't a way of avoiding it unless you do other, I mean, you can avoid it, but it means doing a lot more other obstacles. And by that point, I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to bow out. I've done a lot more than I thought I would. I've done all 4 zones. I can feel proud of myself. I've got my street cred from my brothers-in-law. And do you know what? It was really, really fun. The hardest bit was climbing up the rope ladder, because you are harnessed onto a rope as well, like a pulley thing. And it does actually feel a bit like it's pulling you down, and you have to kind of pull against it to go up the ladder, which isn't fun. And in the first one, I managed to get myself tangled in that rope. So there was a bit of a hairy moment where I'm trying to unclip myself from that rope, clip onto the red safety line around the tree, and also got myself tangled, and I was really, really worried I'd fall. I mean, obviously nothing would have happened to me, because you always remain clipped by at least one safety line to the by at least one of your bits of your harness to the safety line at all times. So I wasn't going to go anywhere, but it still would have been quite frightening, I think, to have fallen, even though I would have been caught by my safety line and wouldn't have gone anywhere. The lines are, you know, 1.5 feet long, so I really wouldn't have gone anywhere, but still. So yeah, I got myself caught, but the zip wires were actually really fun. You crouch down on the end of the platform and you can feel the harness start to take your weight. So that's reassuring. So it's just a case of closing your eyes and letting yourself go off this platform. And it is so fast and so fun. But it gets faster. One of them is like 235 meters long, so it's really long. And I had my eyes shut, but I still enjoyed the sensation. It was really weird. And I didn't land. They say to you, oh, start running in midair. So have any of you seen Harry Potter? Sorry, I said this was craft related and I've gone straight onto the bit that isn't. I will come back to craft in a minute, but have you seen Harry Potter? The Goblet of Fire. And you know, they use the port key at the beginning, and Harry and Ron and Hermione and the twins all just kind of go on the floor, and then you look up and then you've got Cedric Diggory, you know, Robert Pattinson, looking all smug as he's kind of walking through the air casually to get to the ground with his dad and Ron Weasley's dad, Mr. Weasley. Yeah, I was definitely the Ron, Harry and Hermione. I landed on my backside because I managed to come down the zip wire backwards. Not entirely sure how I managed that, because it's on a wire. It shouldn't be possible. And my brothers-in-law were kind of, you know, doing that walking through the air bit, looking all smug. So yeah, I landed on my bum at speed. And my bum isn't quite as padded as it used to be, so I felt it. But that was good fun. So yeah, not much crafting got done then. But yeah, the other bits I've been up to, we kicked off today, kicked off the beginner's crochet course, which I was so excited about. I was surprised. I knew that there was a market for knitting. I knew that people were interested in it. I was surprised by how many people emailed me while I was advertising the first knitting course back in February, which obviously didn't happen until September for obvious reasons. I was surprised how many people were interested in crochet. Don't get me wrong, I really like crochet. I find it therapeutic. It is fast. It's a bit yarn hungry. I suppose that would be the only thing, but you know, and you get a really snuggly blanket to sit under afterwards, unless you're me, in which case your cats pinch them and claim them for their own. Yeah, I really like it, and it's great for watching TV. You just, muscle memory, just whiz along, and it's versatile. I'm making a garment at the minute. I'm making it, I'm not. I'm gonna have, it doesn't count as a new cast on, right? Because you don't actually cast on. No one seems to know what you call it when you start a crochet project. Do you chain on? Do you slip on? I don't know. There's always this thing in podcasts where people seem to stumble when they say about casting on a crochet project, because it isn't actually casting on. What do you think? Let's have the whole mug cup debate. What do you call it when you start a new crochet project? Let me know below. Let me know below. I shouldn't have had caffeinated coffee. Sorry, this is going to be mad and nonsensical, but it's episode 12. You guys are subscribed. You come back each week. You know what to expect by now. And if you don't, well, more fool you. If you think I'm going to have a calm and organised podcast, no, sorry. Not sorry. Where were we? Yeah, let me know below what you call it when you start a crochet project. I've got yarn on order for a new crochet project for someone, for their little girl, which I'm quite excited to do. So the yarn's on order for that. That will become a whip very soon, and will be on the podcast, if not next week, but the week after. I'll show you that. So there's more crochet coming your way. What do you call it? And how did I get onto that anyway, onto crochet? Oh, that's it, the crochet course. Oh God, Gemma. Oh, I thought I had it together. I thought recording in the afternoon would be more coherent because I wouldn't be quite as tired. Clearly, being tired and recording at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night is the way I should go. Who'd have thought? Oof. Yes, crochet course. God. I'm going to leave this in. I'm just going to own it. Yeah, I started that. There was lots of interest, and I started this morning, and it was such fun. But my goodness, if I thought that teaching a group of grown women would be easier than teaching a bunch of teenagers, I was mistaken. There's me happily talking about, you know, how with crochet it's just a case of knowing which hole to stick your hook in, because depending which hole you stick your hook in, you get different results. And they're sniggering away. And it takes me a while, and I realised they're being naughty. They were being rude. And I was like, what? Here I am teaching the group of ladies. Nothing ladylike about this. So, I mean, of course, with crochet, there's a lot of hooky innuendo as well, isn't there? You know. But wow. We had such a laugh, and then I couldn't talk and explain what to do because I couldn't think of a way of explaining it without talking about poking your hook in various orifices, in various holes, and I just got into a complete muddle. But everyone had fun, and yeah, that was really good to see them progress from making their first slip knot to because I did do it a slightly different way to how a lot of the ladies learned when they were younger. So we had fun talking about slip knots, and then chaining and getting used to the action for the double crochet and the chaining to create. We created circles to start with, just to practice going round and round. And then we started on a granny square, which I think is a really great first project because it's rhythmical, you can get into it, it grows quite quickly, you've got colour change. And it's kind of creative. So I thought we'd start with the granny square and then progress on. So next week or the week after, possibly the week after, because I think we need a little bit more TLC with our granny squares to start with. We're going to be doing bunting and then finishing up with my headband design that I created when I was running Nursery Knits a couple of years ago. So they'll get 2 completed objects to take home with them. The granny square is just for practice, but I think I'm going to get them to do smaller ones, and then I can teach them about joining and seaming things together. We'll see. I'm already planning the intermediate course, so that's really fun. I had such good fun with them. And the other crafty thing that happened this week, or 2 crafty things, I went to Knit and Natter with my knitting group, and somehow got convinced that I'd already agreed to dress up because it was Halloween on Wednesday. I don't remember agreeing to dress up. I remember there being a conversation with my friend about the possibility of dressing up or doing something a bit Halloween-y, but I don't remember committing to it. However, I was assured I'd committed to it. Cue mad dash round town on Wednesday night instead to try and get a costume together, and I've got a picture which I'll put here. You might have seen it on Instagram. Actually, it was rather fun. You know, it was only me and my friend who were dressed up because it wasn't an organised thing. It was just, you know, for the hell of it, why not? And something I've discovered, I bought the headdress. I've actually got it here. Channeling my inner Maleficent. Ooh. There you go. For the princely sum of £1 in tiger. I quite like it. I mean, I was wearing it yesterday just for fun. But there we are. It leaves glitter everywhere. That's the only thing. I think £1 for that. That's not bad. And that was full price. That wasn't discounted because it was Halloween. That was the price it was. I don't want to know about fast fashion and sustainable shopping. I wasn't ticking those boxes. So if you're one of those people that likes that, look away now. It's too late to look away, isn't it? I've shown you. And then I was in Primark looking for red lipstick and eyeliner, which as you can see I'm wearing today, which is unusual for me. I don't usually wear eyeliner. And as I was walking out, I saw this kind of leather looking skirt and I thought, well, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Just to vamp it up a bit. And my friend went, go for it, go for it. So I did. I bought this kind of pretend leather skirt. It was obviously some form of plastic, and a green sort of drapey top, which you see in the photo. And what I've discovered is that in the winter, pretend leather keeps you really warm. It really does. Also, depending on the cut of the skirt, you walk a bit like a penguin. It was not a good look. And trying to get up the step into the cafe where we have our knit night, it was a bit sort of duck-footed and knock-kneed to try and get it. But it was fun. So that was Wednesday night, and that's when I finished my firework hat. Did I tell you it's named Firework? I think I did, didn't I? Finished my firework hat. And then on Thursday, I went round to my friends with my knitting machine. My grandma used to own a wool shop when I was very small. I have memories of said wool shop, and apparently I used to sit up in my pram when I was 9 months old and say hello to everybody. So you know, I basically haven't stopped talking since I learnt at 9 months old. No one can shut me up. I suppose you could, couldn't you? You could press pause or just press stop and off you go, but don't do that. Don't talk to me, please. And I have memories of this wool shop, and actually she had a knitting machine. She had a couple of knitting machines. And she used to knit samples in her shop, and she took commissions for local schools. She was telling me she did the ski jumpers and the balaclavas for a local private school for their ski trips. And she had this knitting machine, and she gave it to our friend who runs a local, or ran, she's handed it over now, it's under new management, a local yarn shop back home, about 7 years ago, maybe. She gave it one of them, and one of them had been sold, and this one, the other one she gave. And it wasn't used, and Grandma said to me, oh, will you go and get it back from her and you can have it if you want it? And I'm like, yeah, of course I want it. I am a craft magpie. I will try all the things. I am a massive hoarder. And if I can see it could be useful somewhere for some crafty creation, I'll keep it, even if I don't use it for several years. And that's what's happened with this. I'll be honest, I was too scared. She had the manual, she has a kind of ring binder with a course on how to use a knitting machine. She had the punch cards. She has all these magazines that have come through with mail order magazines with knitting patterns in from like the 60s through to the 80s, which is just amazing. But I was too scared because I had no idea how to use it. And then a couple of weeks ago, almost out of nowhere, I can't think where this has come from. Maybe it's because we have a mutual friend, like the person I was going to do this with, or bounced around the idea, may have mentioned it, I don't know. That's fine. So my friend said to me, oh, I heard you have a knitting machine and you might want to be getting rid of it. I mean, I had toyed with the idea of giving it to someone who would use it, but obviously I need to run that by my grandma first because obviously it was hers. But it was upsetting me that it wasn't being used, but also I would like to learn to use it. My friend and I discussed it, and she said, well, you know, why don't you bring it round? We'll learn how to use it and we can play with it together. You can use it obviously and it can just stay at mine. And I thought, brilliant, because I have no space for it, and this way it will get used by my friend, but also who used to have a knitting machine herself, but also by me, and I can do shop samples and things like that in my yarn, which would be great. So I took it round yesterday and we had a whale of a time. It's in really good condition, the machine. I was a bit worried because obviously it hadn't been used in several years, and also it's been moved about a lot and bumped a lot as I've moved it from room to room because it's quite heavy. But it's in pretty good condition. It needs a few of the needles replacing, so we were on eBay looking for bits of that, and it's really exciting. My knitting machine actually is able to do lace. It can do lace. It can also do colour work. So it can do Fair Isle where it uses 2 colours. And I've got photographed one of the books that my friend has here. So cool. You can do animal motifs. You can make your own punch cards. And so we're going to get a ribber for it because it doesn't have a ribber. So we're going to get one of those. We're ordering a new table for it to go on because we clamped it to her dining room table, and you can't just use a trestle table because it will wobble too much. And what else were we looking at online to get for it? some more weights because I didn't know what they were, and I think I threw one out. But yeah, it needs a good clean. So we are on eBay stalking all the things for this knitting machine, because they retail for quite a lot of money, because brother actually doesn't make them anymore, hasn't made them for a long while. And that's what happened with my friend. She had one and it needed reconditioning, and she thought, oh, the amount of money I'm going to have to spend on it, I might as well buy a new one. Got rid of it, realised that actually the new one you can't get anyway because they'd gone out of business. I mean, obviously brother itself hasn't gone out of business. It still does, you know, computers and printers and sewing machines, but it wasn't making knitting machines anymore. So yeah, I'm thrilled with this, absolutely thrilled. So we're buying all those things, and then in the new year we're going to take it all apart, give it a really good clean down, replace some of the needles that need using, and we're going to get it going, and we're going to have so much fun. I was actually messaging my friend going, oh my god, you could do colour work on a knitting machine, and she was like, yeah you can. I was like, mind blown. And you know, ferrule and lace, and wow. So we need a ribber, because you can't do a true rib on. You can do a hung hem, which I think is a bit like rib, and then you fold it over. I'm not really sure. I think if you follow Dragon Hill Studios on Instagram, she uses a circular sock machine. So does Tracy of Nora George use a circular sock machine. So if you've seen Crafts from the Third Floor, I think she talks about it a bit as well. And I know Amy talks about it on her podcast, the Stranded podcast. So if you follow any of those three people, you might have seen that they do, if they do the rib for the top of the socks, it's kind of folded over. I think it's not a traditional rib. I think that's a hung hem, but I could be lying to you because that's something I do sometimes. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to plump for something and go for it with all the conviction I can muster until someone tells me, no, Gemma, you're wrong. Yeah, and that's such fun. I'm really inspired, really excited. We've got all these books with all these old retro patterns that are quite vintagey, and they look really fun, and we've got so many cones of yarn to work through. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to speedily knit shop samples for my hand dyed yarn on it, and that will be coming in the new year. So yeah, that's everything I've been working on this week. There's no sewing. I haven't made any project bags yet. I'm not going to go into that today, but there's going to be a blog post this weekend called Spinning Plates, which the aim of that blog post is to kind of, for me to sit down and have a think about how I'm coping with doing everything, with going back to work and trying to run a business, and I'm starting a business really, aren't I? I'm only my first year. Functioning as a human being, because life happens as well. I mean, granted, not everybody's in my circumstances at the moment, but it's all relative. Everyone's got a healthy or unhealthy dose of life happening, as well as everything else they're trying to do. So I'm going to give some advice as well. I don't know, I don't think I can really call it advice because I'm not an expert on anything, and I don't pretend to be an expert on anything. I guess I can just give you my perspective, things that I've found useful for me. I'm by no means prescriptive here. I'm certainly not a finished object. As Nathan Taylor, Sock Competition, often says, you know, life is a work in progress. And yeah, definitely, I'm definitely a work in progress. But if you're interested, that's what I'm going to be exploring this week on the blog. Yeah, I'm trying to not do all the things all the time. I think that's what I need to do. I need to say that I'm going to be at Yarnporium tomorrow, which is today for when the podcast goes up. So hopefully if you're there and you've seen me, you'll have come up and said hi. I will be wandering around. I'm going to go and see some of my lovely friends who are vending. Love that they're my friends. There's just such wonderful people in the yarny world, there really are. Going to see a couple of other friends that are going to Yarnporium as well. Going to catch up with them. I'm going to go and gift this hat to my friend. Hopefully you'll have come and said hi, because I'm not that scary, and obviously you know me because you know my face, but I don't necessarily know you or yours. So it'd be lovely to meet you in real life, or to have met you in real life, in which case it was lovely. I'm tying myself in knots here. I'm going to put it on Instagram and say that I'm going to Yarnporium, and hopefully people will come and say hi if they see me. I'd love to meet people and say hi. I had an interesting one. It was slightly bizarre at Perth. Good bizarre, I'm not complaining, where someone complimented me on my jumper in the lunch queue. I can't think which one it was I was wearing. I think it's the one that I shrunk, Well, obviously not the one I shrunk, the one that my mum reknit me. And then I got this, my phone pinged a bit later and it was Instagram, and someone said, oh, we just complimented you on your jumper in the lunch queue. I'm like, say hi, say hi. I'm actually quite shy in real life, but if you say hi, and I'll give you a hug. It'd be nice to meet you. I like hugs. I do like hugs. I rate people on their hug giving. Hug giving and handshakes, you know, it's my kind of acid test to see what people are up to. Anyway, I am blethering on far too much, so I'm going to go and finish my cup of coffee. Hold it nicely so you can't see my horrible hand-dyed fingers. Hand-dyed fingers, that's weird, isn't it? And yeah, I will see you very, very soon. I've probably forgotten lots of things, in which case I will pop them in the description box below or on Instagram, none of which matters because you've watched this. Oh dear. Have a really lovely knitty week. If you are going to Yarnporium, have fun, and hopefully I'll see you there, or will have seen you there, and I will catch up with you next time for some more crafty chat. Take care. Bye.